If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And please join me on my website at nanice.com. Thank you.
It's your time for Chai with Nanice. Get ready for substance, clarity, change, and especially empowerment. Get ready to turn over stones, uncover stories, and get to the heart of the matter in every area of your life. Any mood runs, any emotion flies, and your dreams are within your grasp. There are no limits or boundaries, and your comfort zone is out of reach, yet it's the safest place you will ever be. Come in, sit down, and have some chai with Nanice.
Welcome to Chai with Nanice. I'm Nanice. Today's show, we're going to be talking about responsibility, but not in the conventional sense. I think that for many, many years, if not generations, we've had a totally upside down and backwards conception of what responsibility is, or in this case, self-responsibility. And so today, what you will learn is how to find intrinsic power in taking responsibility for your life, for all areas of your life. And it might press some buttons, and that's okay too, because if there's something to press, it's good to press it so it comes out and you can discover more about yourself and make more powerful choices. As many of you know, I have started a coaching school for women called Echo Coaching Institute. And I have been in this amazing process of interviewing women from all over the world. I've had hundreds of women apply, and exceptional women have shown me all they've got, so to speak. Women with challenges and powerful qualities and a real deep desire to make a difference in the world, and that's what Echo is all about. And there have been several of these women that I have been extremely impressed with. One in particular is my guest on today's show. Her name is Kathi Van Order, and she and I have been talking and communicating and have several interactions over the last few weeks. She truly is one of the most incredible people that I have had the opportunity to know, and she is part of this pilot program for Echo Life Coaching Institute. And before I bring her on, I'd like to introduce her, but I'm going to do today's introduction a little bit different. I'd like to share something that she wrote with her permission, and it is this. Kathi writes, "By outward appearances, I'm a mom of 3 sons with a loving and supportive man living in my little corner of the world known as Paradise, in the foothills in Northern California, USA. I have experienced so much in my life thus far, from the depths of despair to joy and love, beyond my wildest dreams. This has been part of my journey. I am a woman inspired by life, enjoying this wonderful journey of discovery and spiritual awakening. I am now thriving in my life rather than merely surviving. I have experienced incredible personal transformation. As I cultivate my level of self-knowledge from a sincere desire to become aware and attentive to my genuine needs, wants, desires, dreams, and passions, I've come to accept all of the intricate facets of my being. As I go through this process of integrating all that I am, my awareness of who I am becomes authentic, and I claim the infinite power of me. As I remain current with myself, I become a conduit of creative energy in this world. I have chosen to evolve and experience the highest expression of myself, that which is an experience, an expression of love. This is the process of awakening." Wow, Kathi, that's so beautiful.
Oh, Nanice. I caught up listening to it. Thank you. It's such a privilege to be here with you today.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was just listening to the power behind my own words, and sometimes I amaze myself, I think, because it's been such a transformational journey, and what I'm really coming to realize is that it's a process.
Yes.
You know, that it's something that more will always be revealed to me, and it's not a destination that I'm reaching. It's the journey of it, and going through what I've been through with you, particularly over the last week or so, has been very revealing for me, and just really helped me incredibly to work through some other old beliefs and accept them, so that I could move through that again. And it's like I said, it's the process of it. So I'm thrilled and excited to be here with you, and it's an honor, Nanice.
Yeah, thank you. The honor is mine, Kathi. Yeah, I love what you say about process, because that's really what it is, a process. I remember when I was younger, and always on this path of awakening, and even I remember being 12 years old and totally on the path, and even years later, decades later, somehow I thought that there was a destination point, that I was working towards something. And I don't think that I really started waking up until I realized that there wasn't really a destination point, that it was a process. That it's like the sun comes up every day, and there's never a destination like, oh, that's the last day the sun's going to come up. It's a process every day. It comes up, it goes down, it comes up, it goes down, and it's a process, and it's a cycle, and it's an evolution, really, even when it doesn't seem like it. And so I love that you think of your journey as this process that really doesn't have a destination, because it's evolving. I was talking about awakening a week or so ago on a radio show that I was interviewed on, and one thing that I realized about awakening as well, that it's like there's not a destination there either. You don't just oh, I'm awake and that's it, or I'm enlightened and that's it, because as soon as you think you're done, then you're not awake and you're not enlightened, and you haven't really reached anything. That it's this concept of evolving process. It's like a flower. As soon as that flower is blooming, and as soon as it stops blooming, it dies. And that's not what life is about. It's a continuation of a journey of birthing and rebirthing and birthing again in so many ways that we can't even understand at this point.
Right,
fabulous. Right?
It is. It truly is. And I was fortunate enough to hear your show on the awakening, and it made it a lot clearer for me in understanding how it is more like the flower that's blooming, it's the for me, I'm sorry I'm stumbling here, but my feelings are kind of all caught up with me. But
I stumble all the time. It just makes me feel better. So.
Okay, because I used to get stuck with all these definitions of self-discovery or personal empowerment, spiritual growth, or your soul's journey, and awareness and awakening, and I kept thinking, well, if I finally got to that point that I was awake and got it, that would be the end of it. But then the realization was there that that's what our life is. That's the whole kind of the purpose of the whole thing, the whole journey of it is that whole process of awakening. Yes. And that's what makes it so exciting, especially for me right now, because there's so. And I think I've said somewhere that once you think you've gotten there, or you know it, you realize you know nothing at all. Right. And so you're beginning again. I think you have a phone ringing, but yes. So it's just the acceptance of the whole journey of life, and the self-discovery, and the responsibility and taking responsibility for myself that has just been a real awakening for me.
Yeah. So I'm sure a lot of our listeners are thinking, so what does responsibility have to do with awakening? People don't think of it in the same way. In fact, I've witnessed many people not taking responsibility for their life, and yet being on this path of trying to awaken. So how have you put those two things together in your life?
Well, let me see if I can describe it real well. Taking responsibility, and this was part of the exercise you did with me, is when going within to the beliefs that are at my core, what I find that the biggest difference and challenge for me was I wanted to deny a lot of it, because so much of my life was at a comfort place where I felt there'd been some involvement. But beneath that, there's still other beliefs that were revealing themselves and continue today to reveal themselves in my life. So yes. the more that these beliefs that I accept them rather than deny them, feel the feelings with them, and realize that wherever the beliefs came from, whether they're from my childhood or beliefs that I picked up along my life's journey, that I've embedded them and ingrained them as part of who I am, and those beliefs reveal themselves subconsciously, which is the biggest part that I was really finally understanding working with you,
Right.
was that my life today, everything around me and everything I see is a reflection of
Yes.
those beliefs. And
Yes.
right, so it's been the self-responsibility that I've created this life, and
Yes.
that even though I might not be fully aware of all the beliefs that are underlying, I know that they're there. And
Right.
that's where taking responsibility is, rather than, because I think in one of my responses to you, I wanted to just take the responsibility end of it, and which was actually just kind of like, this is the easier way out.
Mhm. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and you kind of put it back up to me and helped me to look at it and to see the patterns, and
Right.
and then I had what it took me through with you personally was a process of letting these feelings and these beliefs surface, to where I in fact spent an entire day with tears just flowing down my cheeks. And I'm not one that usually cries easy, and so I just let the tears flow as they wanted to, but every single little thing they just start flowing. And I allowed myself to feel it, and I could identify some of the beliefs. Some of it I wasn't still real clear on, but that was part of my process of letting it surface, letting
Yeah.
myself feel it and experience it, and then just say, okay, that this is all right.
Right.
That-
Without even having to do anything with it, just letting it come up and letting it process through you. Is that what I'm hearing you?
That's exactly
Okay.
what you're
Yeah.
hearing. There was no
Yeah.
questioning.
Yeah.
It was just accepting. And
Yeah.
it's very self-revealing,
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
And there's some pain involved in it too, that I wasn't expecting, because I didn't, just letting it flow, I couldn't, and I wasn't trying to identify where exactly that pain may be coming from, but I know that it was a lot of my past and the beliefs that I was had my attention on, or had been focused on in the days prior, that were now freely able to surface, and I could feel and experience it. So it was
Yeah.
an incredible days.
Yes.
And I think,
Yeah. So Kathi, is it okay if we talk about some particulars of some things that you went through? Would that be okay to share with our listeners?
sure, if you want to maybe jog my memory on some of it, it seems
Yeah.
like in my mind I went through so much.
Yeah, yes. And so what I would like to share with everybody first is that you have really been someone who has taken responsibility for your life. So in huge ways. I mean, you've had many challenges in the past, and you basically, for lack of a better way of saying it, you cleaned up your life by taking responsibility and getting things in order. No accident that your last name is Van Order in your life. No accident. That didn't get past me, by the way. So you put things in order.
Oh, it got past me.
Oh,
Until
great.
just now.
That's so good. I love that. Oh. So you put things in order fantastically. I mean, you really did a great job. So it's like you've had challenges from the past, and whether you want to share them or not, that's up to you. But you've taken responsibility for your life, and you've created a life that's again in order. And yet we've started talking about some challenges, and I'd love to share with our listeners, how this actually came up, and that is, we're emailing back and forth. I think it was late one night, and about a week and a half ago or something like that, and Kathi emails me, and she says something to the effect that this is the second time that she, had to do this email, because the first time her computer froze, and she lost everything. Yes, and so.
And I was very frustrated.
And she was very frustrated. That's right. So I'm always aware of life speaking to me. So the way that I live is my life is always speaking to me, giving me clues about what's really going on inside me, in my subconscious mind, inner beliefs, all those things, right? So, and when I hear them from somebody else, I know that I see that too as reflections. And I also knew that Kathi was open to, seeing more than she was seeing. So I emailed her back something like, that the freezing of her computer was a metaphor for her life, and where is she freezing in her life? And so, then she began to look at it. And on the other part of it was in this email, she also said that she was, frustrated that her computer crashes. It wasn't the first time. Okay, it crashes. And yet she was very, very patient at the same time. And I questioned her how she could be both patient and frustrated. And through these two interactions, that what's freezing in your life and where have you been patient and frustrated, what it did was started to open up some beliefs about things that are currently going on in her relationships and have also gone on in the past. And Kathi, would you like to share just some of the beliefs that started surfacing and explain a little bit about that, maybe, as much as you'd like?
Well, sure. As far as when you asked me, to look at my life and where were things freezing or where was I maybe stuck was how you were asking me.
Right.
And what I was sharing back with you in the email was that I was feeling, somewhat stuck in my current reality in my relationship with John, and
who's your husband?
Right, and that he was going through some medical conditions, and that the impact it was having on me was I was feeling out of balance, and I'm trying to remember what I was thinking.
So that you were saying that that there was, and I like that you can't remember, because when people can't remember, it's because it's been resolved, right? Like, what was that?
Right.
What was that? I don't remember. So that's good. But I do recall that you there was a lot of frustration because everything was landing on you, and that you became the one who had to keep the home together and take care of the kids and all the responsibilities and all of that. There was a big element of that.
Right. And then you had asked me how that might have played out, or as a child, actually, how the responsibility part and patience and where I had experienced that prior in my life. And I had explained to you that my dad had died in Vietnam when I was 14, and that left my mom to raise the nine children. And so my mom was the one that was always, this is where the patience and the frustration, I found out, they don't work congruently together.
Right.
So
right.
She was always trying to teach me that I needed to be patient, but and the frustration. So I was carrying that on in my life, and I would say probably a week and a half ago, I'm really think I'm working through it right now.
Yes.
But my mother ended up carrying the whole load and was the responsible one, and she had all 9 children to take care of, and so, however that was created for her in her life, I repeated that entire pattern, and not just in one relationship in my life has that happened, but in several relationships, to where I'm the responsible one that carries the load and carries the burden. And it's because I believe of that belief that's been so subconsciously ingrained in me that's been a role I keep playing out.
Right.
And so what you were helping me to do was to see that was there, and to be able to, and I wanted to deny it, I think, at first. And
yeah. That's okay. But you didn't. Ultimately, you didn't. And that's taking responsibility for your life. So this, there's so many layers of taking responsibility. And yes, it's the tangible levels that, we make sure that our kids eat and there's a roof over our heads, and, or if something's incongruent, we get it back in congruence. And, there's that level of responsibility. And the area of responsibility that we've been working at is this very, very deep level of responsibility. And that's really looking at everything in your life as a mirror or reflection for what's going on inside of you. And really, I've said this before, so who's ever been listening has probably heard me say this many times, but the outside world is only a reflection for the inside world. So it's like we've got our subconscious minds are kind of like, computers, and they control everything. So it's like, it would be, an example would be, you look at your computer screen, and it's, the computer screen isn't the thing controlling things. It's, it's what's going on inside your computer that's creating what appears on the screen. So most people, who have computers, have ever known, or used a computer, understand that. And so it's the same thing with our lives. So it's like our lives are like that screen. It's like that computer screen, and the screen's not doing anything. All the screen is simply reflecting what's going on inside of us, like demonstrating, showing us what's going on inside.
If we didn't put everything into the computer, it wouldn't be there to reflect on the screen.
Exactly.
You know, if that program wasn't in there, we couldn't activate that program. We couldn't see it. Yeah.
Exactly. And you know, it's life is really brilliant because it's a perfect graphics, so to speak, for what's going on inside. When computers first came out, if anybody's, you know, been using computers that many years, you know, you didn't have these kind of graphics. You had, and I could be wrong here, so computer, you know, people let me know. You had just codes, you know, and they will, HTML codes, you know, there was some kind of codes. And, you know, so it's like you had to use these codes. You couldn't, you know, you had to know how to write computer language in order to get what you wanted, to make that happen. And now it's not like that. The codes, you know, my son does website design, and I watch him, and he puts in these complicated codes, and what comes out is, you know, this amazing language or graphics or, you know, whatever it is that he's working on. So it's the same thing. Our lives are just this amazing graphic that comes out because of the codes or the program that's inside of us. So when people go and try to change their lives, and you hear this all the time, I tried to change, but it didn't work. The reason for that is that they're just trying to change the outside world, the outside screen. They're not shifting the program, which is on the subconscious mind. And I'll tell you a funny story, Kathi. So years ago, my mom, she was just learning to use the computer, you know, 80-something years old, and you know, she's great, and she does editing still. She's amazing. Computers have not been her strong point, however. So years ago, she's learning to use the computer, and she types up this Word document, and she, you know, pushes the print button, prints it out, looks at it, notices that there were a few mistakes. So she got her whiteout and her pen, and on that piece of paper, she whited some things out and wrote some new things in, and, you know, all that. She goes back to the computer, and she prints it out again. And she's completely frustrated that she gets the same thing out, like nothing changed. She had no understanding that she needed to make the changes on the computer in order to print out a new copy. And when people just try to change their lives, it really is, once you understand how life works and how the subconscious works, it really is as silly as the idea that my mother can make changes on a piece of paper and expect the next printout to reflect those changes.
That's so true, and I loved that story because I could picture myself doing the whiteout thing, you know, and in many areas. And then I'm thinking, well, okay, dummy, get to the computer screen and right. go into the program, and that's where you need to do the changes, right. and that's where we're coming into, you know, accepting my truths and what really is, and maybe even realizing that part of what is being projected on my screen is not necessarily the picture that I want to see.
Right.
And in order for me to change that, I have to go in deep, and that's what we've been going through. Because, and you know, you mentioned that I've been through a lot and a lot of changes, and I have really done a lot of what I feel has been really a lot of deep inner work from the person that I used to be in my life and the woman that I am today are such complete opposites. But the realization that there's still so much more, and that it takes that work and the willingness to say, okay, you know, let's look at this and let's look at what's not working, because the picture I'm seeing might be a lot of what I like, but it doesn't contain all the fine details of what I want to see. Right. So that's where this work of going in and taking the responsibility for all of my beliefs and understanding my truths, and yes. then being willing. And see, willingness was one of the things that evaded me for many years. And that was part of my history was that of being an alcoholic for many years, and I kept trying to change the outward scene of that, and without realizing that it was the inward scene that really needed the changing, and that took complete willingness, and that took complete surrendering for me of everything that I thought I was and everything that I wanted people to see me as, to going in and starting to see who I really was. And for me, the whole process, I had no idea in the beginning of who I was, what I liked, what made me happy or what made me sad. I had taken on all these beliefs that of what, from my childhood and from men in my life and relationships that really didn't fit at all.
Yeah.
And so it was going in and getting really honest, really rigorously honest with myself that this is not me. I don't like that. And I have the choice to change that. The choice was the other big one for me because I didn't think I had the power to make those choices.
Right.
And I learned that having choice in my life and the willingness to do it, that I can change any of it. I just have to be the integrity of my honesty has to be there, and I have to remain true to myself. And I can't, when you're stuck for years in alcoholism, it's easy to want to live in that world of denial.
Yes.
So taking the big step into saying, okay, this is, and discovering, and a lot of times I use the metaphor of like an onion, a sweet Maui onion, and you're peeling back the layers, and there's so many layers to that onion to get to the core of it.
Yeah.
And that was the process that I had begun. And now, here working with you, I'm finding that there's more layers.
Yes.
Does what I'm saying make sense, Nanice?
Absolutely. I think you said that beautifully. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, there's always more layers. I can't tell you how many times that I thought, oh wow, I've done really good with my life, and I've healed so many things, and lo and behold, there's something pops up. And so now I don't even say it anymore. I just assume there's always more, and
expect it, right?
yeah, and not expect like an oh no way, but just like
no, expect the unexpected, and or just that more will be revealed. More will always be revealed in time, and a lot of times it's when we're ready and when we're willing to say okay, and or things will come up in our life, and then we have that choice to see where it fits, or if it's something that we want to change. Yeah. To become our highest self, and to keep growing in our personal and self-awareness and development. I just find it all such an exciting and fascinating journey. It is. And I'm just I can't tell you enough how grateful I am to be a part of the program and of Echo with you, and also how much I appreciate you working with me to see some of these things that, when I looked at my computer screen and I printed it out wrong too. I also ran out of colored ink at one time too, so it was coming out black and white, and I didn't want to see it that way either. So there was more changing to be done, so I'd have the full color image. Yes. Oh, I love that. That's a good metaphor. It enriches mine there. Thank you. I like that. Yeah. It's interesting because a lot of times when we talk about responsibility, people go to this place of blame and shame. And in fact, recently when I was at Burning Man, a few weeks ago, I taught 10 classes there, and I often talk about the power of responsibility. In this one class, this one young woman got so offended, and this was, literally bumper to bumper people. There wasn't like a square inch left in the whole room, and she suddenly just loudly blurted out, like, that's ridiculous. We are, because I was saying basically that, that there's no such thing as a victim, and I was expanding on that, and she couldn't hear that, and she says, I'm leaving. And it was interesting because she could have just gotten up and left, because, sometimes people get up and leave because they have to be somewhere, or, who knows what, right? But she didn't do that. Instead, she made it very clear to me and everybody else in a very chaotic way that she was leaving because she was so a victim. I'm paraphrasing here a little bit, but that was basically the gist of it, and asked her down for a moment and went on to share, my story of, how when I was 16, 17 years old, I was in an extremely violent relationship, and, how I believed that too, that I believed that something was happening to me.
And I did, but even after it was over, I still believed that something had happened to me, that I was a victim, and then played this game in my own head as, oh, now I'm a survivor, not knowing that in order to still even be a survivor, I had to hold on to this idea that I was still a victim, which is a
Right.
very, very interesting dynamic that when people hear that, certainly begin to think about. But anyway,
I think a lot of us are comfortable in the victim role too.
Yes.
Yes. Because it's an identity, and
Yes.
I think I played that role for a while, and then I played like you went to the survivor role, and you have to move beyond even being a survivor and take responsibility that those events in our lives
Right.
we're responsible for as well.
Yes.
That we
Yes.
created.
And as long, this is the interesting thing, Kathy, because as long as we believe that we're victims and someone did something to us, then we're powerless. We're completely powerless. We can't change anything. So because we're a victim once, that means that we can be a victim again. That's why you see people that have histories of victimization, because they're living this belief that it's not only possible to be a victim, but they are a victim. And what I'm saying from a higher reality, for lack of a better way of saying that, is that victimhood not only does not exist, it can't exist. It is completely against universal law. It's impossible. And to, keep telling yourself you're a victim or even a survivor, which means that you have to hold on to the victim mentality in order to be a survivor,
Right.
you're actually locked in powerlessness. And it's insidious. You don't even realize how it shows up, but it's insidious. So it's like, and I love what you said about it becomes an identity. Absolutely, it's and people actually get a sense of worth from being a victim. So it's like it's interesting because you see that people who are playing the victim story out, and really it is a story. It's all a story, and people who are playing the victim story out very often, if not all the time, it's associated with a sense of low self-worth.
Right, and that feeling of being totally, completely powerless.
Right.
And when we're in that role, then we are blaming and people or situations and circumstances and everything on our outside world for what's
Yes.
happening, rather
Absolutely.
than not taking the responsibility completely, full responsibility.
Yes.
And I think you had put it at one point that your power is congruent in all areas of your life because you take the full and complete responsibility for everything that happens.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that is what it's really all about, is being able to take that full, complete responsibility and not in any way having any little I like to say, like even when I related it to drinking, leaving an option. There's
Yes.
no options left. It's
Right.
you can't just say, okay, I'm taking responsibility for this, and that, but that
Yes.
one I'm not, because then you're not really taking full responsibility.
Exactly.
It's
It's so far beyond what people even are hearing now, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
And that is that if my neighbor falls down, in front of his house, that I'm responsible for that too. And it's a hard one to really get, but this is the truth of it. I could not be witnessing it. It could not be in my energetic field unless I was somehow projecting that out onto the screen. So then the next question is, well, what about? So what, you controlled him, or what about his creation? And it's all the puzzle. Everything fits together. So somehow his creation of falling down on the street, and my actually witnessing him falling down on the street, that they reflect each other, and that's why we're both having that experience together. And it really is an experience together because I'm witnessing it. So it's
Right.
like there's nothing that happens anywhere that I'm not responsible for. And this goes back to this whole concept that we really are all one. So, if there's, and the further, the closer it is to my reality. So if it happens right, in my body or in my home, it's a much greater reflection. But even if it happens on the other side of the world, it's still a reflection, and I'm still responsible for it. So it's like, we look at wars in many parts of the world, and if we don't live in that part of the world, we try like to oh, that's not us, and they should just learn to get along. But truly, it's still a reflection of us that if we can even witness disharmony in the world, that means that there must be disharmony in us. And the way in which we actually heal the planet is by creating a harmony inside of us, and then that reflects out into the world. So it's like we're each a part of that puzzle. And when we harmonize ourselves, we harmonize a piece of the puzzle, and when enough pieces are harmonized, then there's a threshold that's met, and then all those pieces harmonize and fit together. Exactly. But it really means being responsible for everything in your life. And if you're going along, saying that I'm not responsible for this, or somebody did this to me, or somebody hurt me, or somebody betrayed me, you're not being harmonic within yourself. Only when you rise up and say, yes, I'm responsible for that. I don't like it maybe, but I'm responsible. So if somebody, hurts me or betrays me in some way, instead of saying they did it to me, what I personally do is I say, okay, thank you. And I don't necessarily go to their face and say this, although I have at times, because that can be weird,
Exactly.
And I'm weird, so that's okay too. So, but I do go to some space and I say, okay, thank you for showing this to me. Thank you, for this hurt or this betrayal, this perceived hurt, this betrayal, because you are reflecting back to me something inside of me that I'm betraying myself or hurting myself in some way. So instead of, keep blaming the screen, keep blaming the computer screen, keep blaming the screen of my life, instead I look at the screen and I say, oh, that's going on, and then I go on like a little, treasure hunt of sorts inside myself and see, where am I betraying myself? Where am I hurting myself? And I heal that. I put that back together. I make that whole. And it could be a part where I'm judging myself. And very often when things are out of harmony in our lives, it's simply because we're judging some part of ourselves. And because every time we judge ourselves, we're breaking ourselves apart. We're breaking pieces away from each other. And we're like dismembering ourselves. And so when we, love and accept ourselves, we remember ourselves. In other words, remember, we put ourselves back together. And that's how we become whole and harmonic. And then we have the ability to pass that on to other people as well. Right. So it's all about self-responsibility without blame or shame.
Exactly, and I had two different thoughts going when you were talking about, witnessing your neighbor falling and scraping his knee, and the experiencing of that. There's something that goes beyond just the experience, I think, that where it evokes some sort of response within or a feeling within that is connected to the whole thing. I'm not quite sure how to say that, but it made me think of the ripple in the pond,
Yes.
and how that emanates throughout, and how that whatever that ripple is or whatever has dropped into the pond, whether that's loving and powerful or creative energy, or if it's harmful, that's the ripple that's going out. Yes. And that's where the part where we have that intrinsic power to make that change, and it all starts from within us.
Right.
And for me, one of the things that you've helped me identify is the self-loving part.
Yes.
And I know that this is all part of my process of taking all in full responsibility, but I would have to honestly say that there's still areas that it comes up that I can look in the mirror and see the reflection of me some days, where years ago, if I looked in the mirror, the reflection of me I could not stand.
Right.
Today, the reflection of me I love. And there are days where I love me incredibly more than other days. And so those are the times where I have to ask myself, well, what's going on?
Right.
What is there that I'm either not really taking a look at or need to look at, that I don't see the reflection that I really want to see in the mirror,
Yeah.
Does that make sense now?
That does make sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you would, I'd really like it if you could just explain a little more on your process of or understanding of self-love. It would help me tremendously.
Oh, sure. And it's funny you would ask me that, because if you asked me that 24 hours ago, I would have had a different answer. I actually had an epiphany last night. So, yeah.
I'd love to hear it.
Yes. And so, let me tell you about the epiphany first, I suppose. And the epiphany was that when we just have this intention of like loving this self, this physical, emotional self, this personality who you call Kathi and I call Nanice, and when it's about that the epiphany was that could only be limited. And there's going to be days that we feel good about ourselves and days that we don't feel good about ourselves because it's not really us. The body, the personality, it's a vehicle and it's not really us. And so it's like when we try to love something at the depths of we're capable of, but it's not really us, it's not the complete love. This is the first time I'm speaking of this out loud. So it's going from an epiphany to it's trying to find the words out in the world. So
you're doing wonderful, and it's helpful, so helpful.
Cool. Well, so what I got was then the thought appeared. Well, who exactly is thinking that thought? And it was this greater part of me. And so I at that moment I really had this experience that this greater part of me, this infinite me, this part of me that goes on eternally, this powerful goddess, if you will, that is the part of me. And I don't even like goddess because that implies, that there's a gender, and I don't really believe when we, evolve that there's necessarily a gender or we can choose what we want to choose. But so this higher self of mine really became aware of, this is the personality and the body, and I love this personality and I love this body and I honor all of that, but that's not really who I am. And once that identification was made, I suddenly felt this immense love towards and from, at the same time, who I really am. And so it's like coming from me and going to me and just kind of like merging and connecting like that puzzle that I speak of and creating this beautiful integration, this beautiful dance. And from that place of infinite love that is unending, it's overflowed to the personality and to the body and to the self that, lives on this planet. And so it was a completely different experience of self-love. So instead of trying, to love my human self with all my faults and flaws and all that good stuff, instead of trying to do that, there was just this amazing love that emerged out from the recognition of who I really am, and loving that part without effort, just in the recognition, the love sprang forth, and then that overflowed to everything else. And it's kind of changed things. I'm still, in the epiphany of it, but it's kind of changed things for me.
I can hear that, and I see that, and I know that I'm going to have to listen to this again to get it all, because there's so much right there. I mean, it's quite an epiphany, because there's a lot there to absorb and assimilate to bring it in to the wholeness of what you're saying, because as you were saying it, I could feel it and sense it, and it's like it's like another part of an awakening process here.
Yes.
And I really look forward to many of the other students and candidates of your program being able to hear this program, and being able to just hear how it all really comes together like this, because it's just such an awesome part of my life experience right now, and this is all part of the taking responsibility. And and so now I'm not going to look in the mirror after just listening to you and see me the same way, because that's just looking at me from the personality flawed side of me that is going to have good days, is going to have some not so good days, and so and I think part of my expectations of myself can be too high sometimes, to where I want to put more into it than is really there, or I want to see a better image too.
Yeah, and there's something about that, and this was the piece that I was missing, and until 24 hours ago. There's something about that it's like, that wanting to to be a better person, and whatever way that meant, because I've always there's always that desire. It's a human desire just to always be the best person you can be. There's something about that detracts from the self-love, and those were the pieces that I couldn't quite integrate. There was that missing piece, and then having this epiphany, I realized what it was. And so the other thing that it's done, it's given me permission, so to speak, and that's not exactly the right words, but lack of a better way of putting it right now. So it's given me, the permission to just have that, to just have expectations of myself, and have less than great days, or it's almost like it gives me permission just for the human me just to be human, and my self-love is completely unrelated to whatever my human self does, and because it's this deep intrinsic love, and from that deep intrinsic love that then overflows to my human side, and it's overflows so much that it doesn't care what I've done that day or what I look like, and I can keep having expectations of being a better person, and I'm still loved just the same, and I could also not, and I'm still loved just the same, because I'm not depending on my human self to love me. I'm depending on this love overflowing from who I really am.
Right, and I'm understanding that. I think, because we all use different vocabulary, in my mind I'm thinking, well, that's the ego part of me, the personality side of me, rather than the intrinsic loving, truest me. And that's the part that isn't something that's just in me, it's something without, and it's the part that the flowing of it. And maybe you can help me with the words again here on what I'm trying to explain, but it's not something that is just within, and when it comes from the outside too, or it's, how can I say that? It's within us and it's without us, and that's the part of the oneness of us. And that's where the love actually flows, and it's the integrating that part with the ego or the personality part of our humanness, and that I think is where I'm, where I'm coming to a new understanding and a new awareness, and your epiphany is very, very helpful here. So, gosh. Yeah, that's part of that's just going to be one more aspect of the self-responsibility I have to look at here. So it's all so good.
Yeah. And many of us have heard this concept of responsibility being the ability to respond, and that is absolutely true. And I take that to an even other level, where the ability to be aware. And because you can't respond until you're aware. So the first step to responsibility is simply being aware. What is going on in my life? What is my life telling me? What clues is my life giving me, pointing me to a greater understanding of what's going on in my subconscious mind, and what are my beliefs? Because if it was not for life, we wouldn't really know what was going on inside of us. The purpose of life in this context is simply to show us, to demonstrate to us on the screen called our lives, what is going on our subconscious minds. And there's nothing, our subconscious minds or our higher powers not judging that. It's just observing that, and it's our choice from this human perspective whether we like what's going on the screens called our life, or we don't. And and if we like it, great, keep doing it. If we don't like it, we have the opportunity to go inside of ourselves and change that program. And the way that we do that is, first, yes, the awareness, yes, take responsibility, yes, make different choices, yes, maybe there's forgiveness that needs to go on, and forgiveness really is about seeing the innocence in what it is that you believe you need to forgive, whether that's you, yourself, or someone else, or situation, or whatever, and then moving in the direction of that which you want. So it's like a shift requires action. You can't just say, okay, I'm going to let go of that belief. Life will ask you to demonstrate that. In fact, situations may even come up, to allow you to make different choices, and they do, don't they?
They sure do. They sure do. It's amazing, and it's wonderful. I think the most difficult part is removing judgment as things come up, because I think we're just naturally inclined to put judgment out there on anything that we might be feeling or whatever, and that's the first step to getting through. Is to remove all judgment and just experience and accept put all the judgment aside, and then just to feel and acknowledge and and then you can take responsibility.
Yes, absolutely. Well said.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Would you believe our time is up?
Oh, that went so
fast.
fast.
I know.
That went
You're
so
awesome.
fast.
Thank you so much, Kathi, for sharing your time, your energy, your story, and just your great energy. You're amazing. Thank you so
much, Nanice. It's just been my pleasure, and I'd love to do it again sometime. It's
Absolutely. That's the
okay.
deal. Thank
All
you
right,
so
thank
much.
you.
Bye, Kathi.
Bless you. Bye.
Bye. So responsibility, yes, that your power to change your life, to create the life that you really want, lies in your ability to respond, to become aware of your life, to make choices based on what you become aware of. Responsibility is not about shame or blame. Responsibility is about being the creator that you truly are. And the truth is, whether you take responsibility or not, you are still creating your life. And the key to creating that which you really want is walking in to the shoes that are yours. And they're the shoes of the creator. You are the creator of your life, and you have the power to create exactly that which you want. Please visit me on my website at nanice.com. That's NANICE.com. I have tons of free stuff. It's an amazing website, if I do say so myself. It is a doorway to awakening. In fact, the website is designed to facilitate your peaceful awakening. There's free articles, tons and tons of free articles about all sorts of things, spiritual articles, personal empowerment articles. There's a free meditation that you can download, a free book download, free song downloads, and it just goes on and on. I now have a prayer corner, so if you need a prayer, click on that too and pop me an email and just enjoy. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you'd like to see on the show. Let me know, anything you'd love to share. I would just absolutely love to hear from you. So again, nanice.com, NANICE.com, and you can email me from there too. You have been listening to Chai with Nanice. Have a wonderful week. Bye for now.
Thank you for having Chai with Nanice. Please go to www.nanice.com for great free stuff that will empower you to live your best possible life. Free books, articles, shows, meditation audios, and so much more at nanice.com. That's NANICE.com. Nanice's books are also available in all major bookstores and Amazon. Check out The Infinite Power of You, Even Gandhi Got Hungry and Buddha Got Mad, Zest Point, Lip Prints, and many others by Nanice Ellis. To find out about one-on-one coaching and how Nanice can personally coach you to experience your best life possible, please email mybestlife@nanice.com.
If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And please join me on my website at nanice.com. That's NANICE.com. Thank you.